Hey, it's Therese Skelly of Happy in Business. Welcome, everybody. I thought I would take a couple minutes and just talk to you about some trends that I'm seeing now. A lot of my clients are coming to me saying, oh, shoot, I just blew that. Or can you help me figure out what just happened? Because, wow, that conversation did not go how I wanted. So today I want to talk to you. I want to share with you a client story, and I want to pull out a bunch of really yummy, juicy threads about how you can actually be of more service the more you take a stand for people. Okay, so one of my awesome clients wrote to me an email and said, here's her words: I am heartbroken because of how this conversation went. And she went on to describe how this prospect that was in front of her was so stressed. She needed help so badly that what ended up happening at the end, my client didn't enroll her. And here's why. Because my beautiful client, she actually, after this, decided she needed to sign up for my selling program. Because after this, what ended up happening is she wrote to me and said, I was heartbroken because she had this and this and this and this going on, and I was afraid that she would think that I was pushy. I had another client a couple weeks ago say the same thing, like, I know I could help that person, but what if they think I'm salesy? I don't want to be, and I just go like, this is where I'm pulling my hair out, right? And so that's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about a couple things. First of all, when that client said to me, I'm heartbroken, sometimes in our selling conversations, here's what we do. We focus so much on their stuff. We actually take on their stuff. So my client's prospect should have felt heartbroken that her life was so out of control. My client's prospect should have taken ownership of like, oh my gosh, things are horrible. But my client was so afraid of feeling salesy, pushy, slimy, sleazy, whatever words you want to use, that she didn't take a stand for her. So the first teaching point is, when I work with people around sales, my emphasis is on, yeah, here's what you say, here's how to do it, here's the order, but more on who are you being? And my client, and I told her this, like, you kind of failed her. You kind of failed that person because you were so in your stuff. You were so worried about, oh my gosh, what will you think? I don't want to XYZ. So my client could have helped that person, but because of her own fear of being pushy or salesy, she didn't. It got away. Now, I'm the poster child for this. This is how I have this selling formula because of all the mistakes I made. I want to go over one or two today. The first one is your fear is getting in the way of you taking a stand. What you must do is you have to reframe the concept of selling. My story is that when I first started out, I was a coach in somebody's coaching company 10 years ago or so, and I sucked. I was really good at coaching, but I absolutely could not sell anybody because I had that same thing. I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to push. I don't want to. So here, I'm not making money, but most importantly, I'm not helping people. Until my mentor at the time said, do you not understand the root of the word selling is really serving? And I was like, I could do that. Like that, I can get myself around. Because you can't serve anybody until you sell them. But first, guess who you got to really sell? You ready? You got to sell yourself on your worth and on your value. And you have to sell yourself that you have a right to be there and that you have help. You have help coming to them. You are a solution. I tell my people are actually out there praying for you. They're praying for what you have. They're praying for your solution. How dare you get like, but I don't want to bother them. I don't want to push them. Okay? So the work I do is really to show you how to think differently. Okay, so I'll tell you a little story. A few years ago, let me back up. I love to be sold. I personally love to be sold. Now, the reason I love to be sold is because I understand what that means. So the first place I want you to look at is What's your dance with being sold? Do you get like, oh God, now they're going to try to sell me? Okay, if you have any of that, you are not clean with selling. You're going to struggle with that. So I was getting a facial. She does the one treatment. And then she leaves the room and she's like, okay, bye, thanks. And I'm laying on the facial bed going, that's it? Like, but what about my wrinkles? I've got age spots. What are we going to do? And I felt so dropped. I felt like, awesome, you gave me a great facial, but well, what are we going to do? Like, what's the plan? How are you going to take me to the next step? And I was aware in that moment, like laying on that facial bed going, she abandoned me. And yet she's probably thinking, oh, I don't want to ask her to buy any more because I don't want to push her. Do you hear the difference there? See, most of us from our perspective are like, oh gosh, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to. But your person on the other end of it, your client, the person you could help, is maybe sitting there going, well, who's going to help me now? What do I do now? So I want you to notice all the times that you have backed down. And I want to wrap up with this thing. Your people don't know what's possible. You do. Like, I work with a lot of like acupuncturists and people that say, well, I just sell sessions. Well, say somebody comes in for shoulder pain and all they know is just give me a pain. I just want to get a pain. That's it. Just fix that. But they could have more energy. They could have vibrant health. They could be a better parent because they felt better. All that. Why would you not take a stand? So I want to challenge you today, if you're sitting there going, well, I would be pushy, really? That's an old story. And sadly, I think a lot of women have this a lot worse than men do. I think men have been given a little bit more permission to go for this. Women, especially if you're over 40, we still have June Cleaver in our DNA somewhere. And so when you think about taking a stand, it's not about you. It's what's possible for them. So if my client, here she's feeling heartbroken that her prospect had such crap going on in her life. I mean, literally her prospect in 6 months is going to crash and burn. And instead of saying, help me to understand why you keep tolerating this. Help me to know what's the payoff for this living this way. And do you not see what's going to happen in 6 months? And what would you like to see differently? Could you imagine 6 months later, what's going to be different? I want to take a stand that you get a different life because what you told me is this is not working. And I'm finally, here's what I call it. And I know I'm like on soapbox, right? I get all, I have this concept called piercing the veil of denial. A lot of people come in and go, oh, it's not that bad. It's all right. I can handle it. Well, it's a little bad now. I personally love when my friends call me on my shit. I personally love when people say, really? You're tolerating that? Why would you tolerate that? Because maybe I don't know that I shouldn't tolerate that. Maybe I don't know there's another way. Maybe this is the only thing I've ever seen and done and been. And I would love, and some of my friends, and I see my friend Nancy's here. Nancy's one of those friends who calls me in my stuff going, sister, what are you doing this for, right? And so think about that. If you, like your best friend, the person you love the most, would you be like, oh, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to feel pushy or silly. No, you wouldn't. You would take a stand for them and you would love them and say, I have to call this out for you. Now, the way I do it, the way I teach it, there's no guilt, there's no shame. I'm not putting anybody down. And in fact, it's the opposite. I'm lifting them up by saying, there is so much more possible for you. I see it. I reflect that back to you. I want to show that to you. Why would you tolerate anything less? So that's the dance here today. Are you able to take a stand so big that those words, but what if I'm pushy? What if they think I'm salesy? Shh, quiet. You didn't get to hear those words because you so are about serving this person in front of you. That's the work today.